going to do. I'm going to go like that. That's it. That's on, mate.
Is that on? We've had a year off racing.
Yeah.
Because we've been waiting for our new S1000RR to turn up. It's the beginning of March now. It eventually arrived at the end of 2019 in December, and we're going to show you how Bob turned a road bike into this year's race bike.
Where I started, well, the first thing, obviously, it was a road bike. So what we had to do was we had to complete 320 miles or something, take it into a BMW dealer, and in effect get its first service done. Yep. And they take the rev limiter off.
And how cold was it when you were running it
Oh Jesus, it was the 27th and 28th of December.
That's dedication.
I rode to London and back 3 times. Anyway, came back and basically took the thing to pieces. Now, I've got no manual for this bike and I've never seen one before.
And are you a race mechanic?
No, I'm I'm a managing director of a radio communications company. I just like motorbikes. So I took the thing to bits really carefully, and it is complicated. Just taking the seat unit off of it took like 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Nothing's intuitive. So I stripped the bike down to basically the frame and the engine. Yeah. All the suspension out, everything. This is what you'll end up with. This is a S1000RR M Sport. In these boxes, we've got
all the wiring loom. Wow.
The old loom.
Your brake board.
We've got just bits.
What's that?
Of pieces. Yeah, this is what little things that the wiring used to run through. The old ignitions in here somewhere. Well, it's just radiator fan. Blah blah blah. Bodywork, the exhaust is hanging up there on the wall. It took me a day to take the thing apart, and the reason it took me that long is because I just didn't want to break anything when I took it apart.
And we can sell it all on.
Well, hopefully. Yeah. If you're anyone out there looking for a brand spanking new set of M Tech bodywork, ring Bruce Charman at Prime Factors or Jeff Holman. At this point, if anyone's doing one of these bikes, I want to give you a little bit of advice. When you read the limited manual that comes with the Motec ECU, think about what you're doing before you actually follow their manual, because actually what I found is that where you start is actually where you want to be last.
Right, so what's the manual say?
No, this is my favourite bit of the manual, and this is what it says. It says it does not substitute active thinking.
Yeah, so basically these are the instructions, but you still got to work it out yourself.
Yeah, basically where you start is where you finish, so just be careful with that. Yep. And my other bit of advice to anybody that's doing one of these is sit down and make a list of what you're going to need, because what you buy and what you end up with, through the process there'll be lots more bits and pieces that you may need to order.
Unless you know what to ask for, they're not going to give it to you.
No,
that's the problem.
So you ring Alpha, and they're really good, and the bits are amazing.
We've been dealing with Alpha Racing. Where are they? Germany?
Germany. They're amazing. Where I was the other day, and you'll laugh at this, but I had a bag of fairing brackets, and I fitted all the bodywork, and then I went to fit the seat unit. Yeah. And I looked in the little bag, and I thought, well, none of this. How does this fit? Am I missing something? I've gone all through the boxes, and then I called Alpha because I just couldn't make it work, and they said, oh yeah, what you need is a seat fitting kit. Right. So they sent me this bag of bits, and it's comprised, I think, of 10 components. Right. And all in like pre-assembled form. Right. So even then I had to stand here for about half an hour and work out how to screw these components together to get the seat to screw on. Now I've done it once. Yeah. I've got it. So we did the suspension, we put the wiring loom on, we put the thing together, all the ABS has come off, and what we've got is, well, we've nearly got a superbike, haven't we? Somewhere between a stocker and a superbike. Yeah, I think it's allowed in Superstock, but we've got lighter wheels, which isn't allowed in Superbikes, slicks, obviously, a Superstock rather. Yeah, it's a little bit more special than that, isn't it? And this bike is so new, not many people have done one yet, have they? No, people have been really helpful. Phil Crow's been really helpful. Yeah. I've spoke to Dave at HM a couple of times and he's spot on. Nothing's really intuitive. Everything's a puzzle. And once we got beyond the wiring loom and everything's sort of basically together, when you start like reassembling the bike, what we've been used to before with BMWs is the lock stops stick onto the frame.
Yeah.
On here, these really nice little lock stops bolt up underneath the headstock, but they're also the radiator brackets as well. But they comprise of a couple of pieces, and when you first look at them, they're not intuitive and you don't really realise what they are.
Yeah.
Once you've done it once,
yeah,
it's easy. But when you first take them out of the packet, you think, well, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah. What you got there, Bob?
I've got the standard shock out the bike. I was just measuring it.
Yeah. What do we need? We need to know the shock length, don't we?
We need to know, yeah, the build length, and we want to know like the ride height.
That all affects the steering, doesn't it? The fork push through. Yeah. So this shock, I mean, it's all built down to a price, really. It's not bad, is it? But this is why you replace standard units with fancy race units, because, yeah.
This is what turns a fast track day bike into a race machine.
Yeah. Better quality internals on the K-Tech. More adjustability, easy to change the springs,
heat displacement,
and and also we don't need the electronics. We did race an HP4 in 2014 with electronic suspension. It was okay, wasn't it? But we tried it again in 15 and it just didn't work. So we've got normal suspension.
The generator, or what we used to call rectifier, used to live up behind the seat here.
Yeah.
So we put this on the side of the engine because obviously this part of the loom that lives up the top here is only long enough to come to here. That's what they recommend.
Yeah.
One of the most frustrating things I found was that I built, I assembled all the wiring on top of the airbox and connected up all the injectors, all the top wiring section. The wiring comes in 3 sections.
Yeah.
I assembled as per the instructions, and then when I got to the end of all that, I've got all this precarious wiring. It then said to me, now remove the throttle bodies because you've got to pull the second loom through the beam of the frame. So you've kind of got to take everything apart, which you've already done.
Yeah.
Look out for that if you ever put one of these together.
So this is all part of the loom, the new loom. So are they all labelled up?
Everything's labelled.
So that's quite good, isn't it?
Yeah, everything's labelled.
Yeah.
So you just need to be really careful. You need to be really careful with these connectors.
Yeah.
One of the other things that's quite curious, because of the length of the loom and the way that it's designed, you need to turn all the coils 180 degrees.
Wow.
So all the coils point forward on a standard bike. They ended up pointing backwards.
So it's not just plug and play, is it?
It's think and play.
Think and play, yeah.
Think, plug and play. We thought that we were ready to get the bike started from this USB socket.
Yeah.
But actually what we've got is like the older S1000RRs.
There's a plug under the seat.
But we've got to get an adapter plug for, so we can connect to our RCK kit. Yeah?
And that will let us manipulate the ECU, and then the USB port in here is all to do with the data logging. So K-Tech have been quite helpful, haven't they? They've given us some information.
Always just really good.
Yeah,
and
given us ride heights to start with, shock lengths, all that kind of stuff, haven't they?
Yeah. And the way that, I've got to say as well, just the shock itself, it's beautiful. The way their stuff is built is just nice.
And from a rider's point of view, I can't wait to try one of these little gizmos. It's got split throttle bodies, so once it's up and running and set up properly, you'll basically have 2 cylinders cut out in the middle of the corner. So you've kind of got half power almost, and then it comes back in down the straight. So that'll either make life easier or high side me to the moon when it comes back in.
I'm not going to let Michael out in the wet on it.
No.
Start, and if I do, I'm probably going to wrap it in cling film.
Because that was one of the things when you ran it in, there was loads of salt on the road, wasn't there? So you had to clean it each time.
Yeah, the last 3 bikes we've had have all been running on the road, not by me, and they've not been cleaned properly. They've all been running at winter, and by the time we get them, the engines start deteriorating.
Yeah.
So I really wanted this to look absolutely like brand spanking new and mint. So the 3 times I rode it when I ran it in, each time cleaned it, blew it off with an airline and dried it, because I just didn't want the sump to go further. I've been working on this at weekends, and I'm not a mechanic. I know how to unbolt things and bolt things back together. It's taken me, I reckon, about 30 hours.
So here it is, it's almost finished, and it looks absolutely stunning. Kind of like an angry shark. Bulldog, Mad Dolphin, whatever you want to call it. So let's start with the engine. So the engine is standard. And in standard trim it makes 204 horsepower or 205 horsepower, but we have got a performance parts, a Kropovich full system on it, which we reckon will probably give it another 10 horsepower. Now it doesn't actually need to go on a dyno to be set up because the ECU is self-learning. So unless we put it on a dyno, we'll never know exactly how much power it's got. But even as a road bike, it's mentally fast. So you can see around the engine we've got some GB Racing engine protectors, Samco hoses. I mean, every square inch of this bike is just absolutely trick as. Still got the standard air filters on, have we?
Yeah, it's still got a standard air filter.
Yeah, standard.
But the flaps have been removed from the air intake.
So engine's pretty much stock, and it's got the shift cam system in it still as well. So I mean, that's amazing on the road bike. So we go back to the chassis. So it's got standard frame. This bike started life as the M model. So you've got adjustable swing arm pivot and adjustable ride height there. That's what the M's got, that the standard bikes haven't got. Standard swing arm, but this is probably the best view of the bike. Look at that swing arm. The carbon fibre bits are actually Alpha Racing protectors. They look absolutely amazing. And then from front to back, we've got, so the forks, standard forks, we've taken the electronic wizardry out of them and fitted them with K-Tech cartridges. We've got Alpha Racing discs, OZ forged Addy wheels. Now this bike comes with carbon fibre wheels as standard, but we decided not to go down that route because we're going to need lots of tyre changes, a few sets of wheels. Carbon probably isn't the most durable for constant wheel changes, and also you'd have to buy multiple sets of carbon wheels, which gets expensive. These are 2D sensors that monitor fork travel, which we'll come on to later. Standard BMW calipers, which are made by Hayes, but they're as good as the old Brembos, and we're running SBS dual sinter or dual carbon brakes. This mudguard is a bit of an old friend of ours. It's on a few of our previous S1000s and it fits this one. So a
lucky mudguard.
A lucky mudguard, exactly.
Yeah.
So working back, we've got a standard quick shifter which works really, really well. We've got Alpha Racing rear sets and gear lever, K-Tech rear shock. Interesting, this is a full floater now. We've got linkages at the top and the bottom. And basically now, because of the linkages, you don't need to run a very hard spring. So this is a 60 kilo spring. We used to run a 95 before. So that would be interesting to ride. We've got, where's the chain sprocket from?
Sorry, where's it from?
Yeah, Alpha Racing.
DID chain.
Oh, DID chain, that's it.
DID chain and sprocket, but they're from Alpha Racing.
Yeah.
The sprockets are Alpha Racing, but it's a DID chain.
Yeah. And of course we're going to be running Pirellis this year, so we've got some SC1s ready to go. Around the other side we've got a new rain light, which is quite trick.
That might blind you though.
There you go. So we've got a switch for this, or the clever old electronics, it puts it in, if you've got it in rain mode, the rain light comes on automatically anyway. So that's pretty cool. So we've got the pipe we've talked about, more rear sets, more GB Racing engine covers. So there you go. So then working up. So the standard S1000RR has got its clip-ons built into the top yoke, which is no good for racing because we want adjustable clip-ons. So we have to buy a blanking plate from Alpha to get rid of the clip-ons, and then we've got Alpha Racing clip-ons here. Rental grips, Alpha Racing levers, and the brake adjuster here, so you can adjust it as you're going along.
What's curious with this this kit, this RCK kit, is they specify that the standard throttle that comes with the bike will never give you like 100% throttle.
Right.
And they recommend that you buy this superbike throttle. So again, it's from Alpha Racing. and it'll give us 100%
Yeah.
volt.
All 200 and whatever horsepower, which is pretty cool. So the most complicated part of this bike is the electronics. Now, what we've decided to do with all the previous BMWs we've been racing since 2010, you buy a thing called a calibration kit, which used to consist of an ECU, an exhaust and some software, and it basically lets you into the ECU so you can muck about with the fueling, you can muck about with the rider aids and everything in between. Now, with this new bike, the calibration kit is much more. So not only have you got the ECU, you've got a full new wiring loom, and you've got a Motec dash, which costs an absolute eye-watering amount of money. So we're at this stage where we've got all the nice lights, but it needs to be plugged into a computer, and we haven't got the right leads yet. So that's a work in progress. The bodywork is exquisite, isn't it? So is this from Alpha Racing, the bodywork?
Yeah, it's from Alpha Racing.
This is a tall seat, isn't it?
Yeah, tall seat.
My gammy legs.
It's completely different. Before there used to be a seat plate underneath. This
Yeah.
has got like two sort of, I can only explain them as cotton reels.
Yeah.
Here, a couple of cotton reels. Slide this into two like tracks.
Yeah.
So the seat slides in and sits on there. So you can get to the electronics and the battery without having to remove all the seat plate. Everything's tricked.
Nice.
Everything's really.
And who did the paint? Paint's lovely.
Yeah, my mate Paul, who works for Barrett's BMW body shop, done the paint for me.
Where's
as
that?
a favour over in Canterbury.
Yeah.
And he painted our last bike, and
So this is an actual BMW colour as well, isn't it?
that was a fluke. I googled 2019 BMW because we had a bodywork before we had the bike.
That's right.
So to get on with stuff, this
We
is
waited
like,
a year for this, haven't we?
I googled 2019 BMW M Sport, and it gave me a paint code. We got it painted, and
What about these lights? They're not lights, are they?
no, they're stick-on homologation Alpha
Yeah.
Racing style BMW lights. We've got a couple of bits left to do. We're going to blow this black in
Oh, okay. Yeah.
here. Obviously the number plate will be on the front, 33.
33.
And I've been talking to Tommy Hill.
What, the Tommy Hill?
The Tommy Hill.
Wow.
Who's very kindly offered. He's offered. It's not free. He's going to charge us. But Tommy and I were talking recently, and he's going to make some decals for us that are based on the.
Make it look like the standard M road bike. Love it.
But what we might do is we might have a little bit more. We might have a little bit more of a flamboyant red.
Yeah.
More Lumo red.
A bit more Lumo. Yeah, I like that. So that's where we are with the bike. We've still got a little bit of work to do before it's up and running. We've got maybe 2 or 3 weeks before Aragon. That gives me time to. You might have noticed I've got a dodgy hand thanks to a little crash in Phillip Island earlier in the year. But that'll all be good by the time a few weeks has passed by. What do you reckon, Bob?
Yeah, we get this plug from Alpha this week and get this thing fired up.
Yeah.
And next time, get someone else to do it.
So we'll keep these videos updating throughout the year. We'll do one from Aragon where hopefully we'll have smiley faces and we would have gone around the track really fast, and then we're going to be doing 6 or 7 UK races this year with Thundersport, GP1 Elite and Bemsy MRO power bikes, and with all being well, we're going to be doing the Spa 6-hour endurance again in August, and maybe the Mugello 200 mile in November. So we'll probably have 8 or 9 outings on the bike, and hopefully we'll have a bit of fun.
Looking forward to it, can't wait.
Yeah.